Hey everyone, Jesse Dale here with episode 7 to our contest countdown. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the diet after the diet or metabolic adaptation. So, what might be going on with all of you who are competing and getting to these very low body fat percentages. And I find that a lot of times, if athletes understand some of the science of kind of what's going on, then it can help them in their post contest period. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So what is metabolic adaptation? Okay, metabolic adaptation is definitely not a bad thing. It's just the way our body responds to certain environments. So for example, as our body mass declines, our body adjusts to the new environment and energy needs accordingly. So smaller individuals require lower energy needs than larger individuals. All right, so if I lose weight, I don't require as much energy to support that new weight. So the metabolic adaptation to exercise would be a stronger heart, stronger muscles, or a more efficient version of you. So typically, we burn less calories over time exercising and in day-to-day activities because our heart and lungs and cardiorespiratory systems get more efficient. So definitely a good thing for longevity and overall health. Hormones, as stress increases or decreases, hormones will adjust to that increase or decrease in stress for survival mechanisms. So right now at 3 weeks out, our hormones are probably adjusting accordingly to the stress and new body weight and everything that we have going on in our prep. So what does life look like on prep for you right now from an energy standpoint? Well, right now your resting metabolic rate is probably lower because I'm assuming that you've lost some degree of weight from where you were 18 to 20 weeks ago, okay? So if you've lost 20 pounds, we'll say your resting metabolic rate has now adapted to that new weight. So remember that resting metabolic rate is primarily body mass driven, so that's height and weight. And we definitely haven't changed our height in the last 20 weeks, but we've probably changed our weight. Age and gender also play a role in resting metabolic rate. So again, since majority of us compete at a lighter weight, our resting metabolic rate tends to slow down. That makes sense. Our body mass declines, so the energy needs to support that new body mass is not as great as it was before. All right, our thermogenic effect of meals or thermogenic effect of food right here. Well, typically we're eating less, so there's not as much thermogenesis going on from our dietary intake. The next one, this is a big one, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Since we are lighter and have a lower resting heart rate, generally that's an adaptation from the cardiovascular activity that we're doing. We're not missing any workouts, we're in the zone. So our bodies are becoming very, very efficient. So we burn a lot less calories doing day-to-day activity. Also, we may be experiencing, because of very low body fat levels and some hormonal adaptations, we might be experiencing some severe tiredness. Like we're just tired. We're like the Walking Dead, like zombies, okay? That also will make us burn less calories during the day or day-to-day activities. So before we had a little more pep in our step, and we may not have as much pep in our step right now. So the only thing that's most likely elevated for us right now is our exercise and cardio. So typically people tend to really elevate their exercise and cardio, which will lower our non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And then we already talked about our thermogenic effect of meals being lower, and of course our resting metabolic rate lower. Okay, none of this is necessarily a bad thing. It's just the way our body responds. And actually a lot of it's a good thing. Strong heart, strong lungs, lower resting heart rate. We're very efficient right now. We're strong, efficient, and ready for survival. So what's going on with our hunger hormones? What are we fighting on a day-to-day basis? Why are we hangry? Well, we have our gastric inhibitory polypeptide, YY or PYY. That's secreted by the small bowel and colon in response to food. So it inhibits hunger, okay? So we probably have some things going on with that. Our leptin, mostly released by fat, so that's kind of where leptin resides, all right? And we want to have more leptin. Right now, if our body fat levels are very low, we don't have a lot of that. So our body's kind of signaling, hey man, I want that fat back, so I have more leptin. So your body's going to signal you to eat a little bit more, okay? It's a survival mechanism. Fat is a very valuable resource to the body. So if we just lost 15 or 10 pounds or 25 pounds of very precious fat, we also lost the leptin, which is even more precious for the body, along with that fat. So your body wants it back, all right? And then ghrelin, made mostly in the stomach, acts on the brain or the hypothalamus to stimulate hunger. We typically don't want a lot of this, but right now we probably have a lot of ghrelin because your body wants to get that leptin. So you have lower leptin, higher ghrelin, all in an effort to get that body fat back, okay? And the lower our body fats, the more this hunger hormones are gonna try to do their job in convincing you to go and overeat and get that body fat back. So those are some things that we're probably dealing with right now. What is going on with some of our other hormones? Well, testosterone typically will decline as body fat levels get below those healthy norms, all right? So that's typically below 8% for males and below around 12% for females. And that's kind of logical. If your body feels that it's dying because it just simply doesn't have a whole lot of fat, reproduction probably is not the #1 priority for your body. So testosterone is going to decline and your body is going to kind of go to other things and more survival mechanisms to help us out and help us live longer. Cortisol, typically around now, if you're taking in a high caffeine intake, so you're taking fat loss pills or pre-workouts to keep that energy up that you don't have anymore. And if your body fat levels, again, are very, very low, then cortisol tends to increase. Now, cortisol is going to be a dominant hormone if testosterone is low, just the way our hormones balance each other. So if testosterone is high, cortisol is typically low. If testosterone is low, cortisol is typically high. Cortisol right now for you is probably particularly high at night, which could be some of the reasons why you have those night hunger. And then you have T3. That's reduced as body fat levels get below healthy levels. So that's your thyroid. So right now you might be experiencing a lot of coldness, and irregardless of the weather outside, and that coldness is typically an indicator that your T3 is starting to decline. And again, we're just not meant to be as lean as we are right now. That's not natural to us. So these are some all adaptations that your body is doing right now to deal with you insisting to be at very, very low body fat levels. So who experienced the most metabolic adaptation, or who's going to get the highest amount of metabolic adaptation? Well, typically the classes that compete at the lowest body fat levels. So 7% or below for males, and then we talked about that 10 to 12% or below for females. Large reductions in body mass. So if I lost, say, 100 pounds getting ready for this show, and we've seen that the last several years, people have amazing weight loss stories. So the larger the amount of weight that I've lost, the greater the adaptation in my resting metabolic rate is going to be. So my RMR is going to decline a lot more if I lost 60 pounds getting ready for the contest than if I lost 5 pounds. And then large amounts of cardiovascular activity. So if we're doing several hours of cardio right now, we tend to realize more adaptation than those who are doing low or moderate amounts, okay? So we talked earlier about non-exercise activity thermogenesis. As we become more efficient cardiovascularly, that goes down, and so forth. So those are the three things, or the three conditions, that's going to kind of influence how much metabolic adaptation that we're going to be seeing right now in our prep. So how do we deal with that? And metabolic adaptation is, again, it's not a bad thing whatsoever. I mean, one of the metabolic adaptations that is really, really healthy is your cardiac output, or your resting heart rate getting lowered from the cardiovascular activity you're doing. That's extremely healthy. So what do we do now? How do we deal with this adaptation? So it's post-show, you've rocked and rolled, you're lean, you're mean. The first thing, and this is not on the slide, but the first thing is having an understanding and realization that extremely low body fat percents, one, they're not healthy, and two, they're simply not sustainable, okay? Or they may be sustainable, but you're not gonna have a very high quality of life. The reason for that is your body simply is not meant to be that lean. That's just not a healthy place to be. I'm not meant to walk around at 3% body fat. If I'm a female, I'm not meant to walk around at 8% body fat. So understand that relish those contest photos, get a video, but realize and be comfortable with the fact that you don't want to sustain, nor is it healthy at all to sustain that look all year round, okay? So we want to slowly get our body fat percent back up to the 8 to 12% range for males and 15 to 17% for females. That right there will stave off any of the perceived negative metabolic adaptations that you might be going through, okay? So that should get your hormones back in check. That should get you feeling, your energy levels, your hunger hormones are back in check, your body has enough leptin. You know, your body still may not want to hang out at 8 to 12% body fat or 15 to 17%, but it's definitely livable. And we want to get there in a good general rule is about half the time that it took you to prep is the amount of time you want to get to those body fat levels. So we don't want to do it within a week. And yes, you can do it within a week. That's just not enough time for your hormones to adjust appropriately, for your hunger hormones, your testosterone, your cortisol. It's had these metabolic changes over the last 20 weeks. We don't want to get there and normalize things in 20 days. It's not going to work that way. So if I had a 24-week prep, then I want to go ahead and take about 12 weeks to get to those body fat ranges. Again, 8 to 12% for males, 15 to 17% for females. Number two is we don't want to go cold turkey. If you chose to do a ton of cardio, so if you're doing hour and a half, 2 hours of cardio, or even 30 minutes of cardio a day, you don't want to just cut that out after your prep, okay? So again, just like as you're adding your calories in slowly, you want to start to decrease your cardio slowly, so you're not going cold turkey, okay? If your body fat was extremely low, then you want to, of course, avoid the temptation for several days of binge eating. Of course, you're going to have that post-contest meal, maybe that kind of drifts into Sunday, but Monday morning, we want to kind of stop that binge eating, get back and get on our post-contest, some people call it a reverse diet or post-contest plan. And remember, you're at a new weight right now. So being aware, number three, you're at a new weight. And if you were, say I was 225 for my entire adult life, and I got down to 176 for the show, well, my psyche and my brain is used to how I would eat at 225. So subconsciously, I'm going to want to automatically go back to that lifestyle, that portion sizes, and that level of eating. Well, I have to be aware that I'm not going to sustain the 176. We talked about that. But, maybe my body weight's around 190, and that's what I want to sustain. Well, again, I want to eat for the levels that sustain 190, not back to 225, which is what I'm used to. Okay? So be aware of your new desired weight and eating or keeping your intake to that level. And remember that your hunger hormones are going to definitely be working against you. So just having that awareness and being aware that, hey, things are going to be a little bit rough the first couple weeks. So we want to use a lot of that self-control that you use during your prep to get lean and get show ready. You want to carry that over into the next couple weeks of your reverse diet. Some additional tips on hormones, and these are probably some things that you might want to consider doing now because those hormones have probably already adapted. So iodized salt, adding small amounts of iodized salt may help bring up your T3 levels back to normal. So that might be something that I suggest that you could probably start doing now at 3 weeks out. Saturated fat, particularly if we're on lower calorie dieting to get into those lower body fat percentages. Saturated fat tends to drive testosterone. So good amounts of, or a good source of saturated fat can be coconut oil. Just start adding that in to your plan now. Make sure that it doesn't take you over your calories, your macronutrient distribution, things of that nature. But typically at 3 weeks out, people are eating such low calories and thus low fat that their testosterone continues to get affected. And then keeping caffeine low. This is a big one. So after your competition, and even now, if you can keep your caffeine as low as possible, your body's going through a lot of stress right now. I know that you're tired, but that caffeine is only going to add to that stress. So keeping caffeine low, and that will help keep your cortisol in check. So rock and roll. Hopefully now you have a deeper understanding of everything in metabolic adaptation, how to deal with it. And we will see everybody next week, which will be 2 weeks out. And until then, I wish everyone good luck.